Hi everyone, I'm going to help walk you through the process of creating box and whisker plots in versions of Excel that are before 2016. So the Excel 365, Excel 2013 and earlier. These versions of Excel don't have a nice built-in insert function with a chart especially made for box and whisker plots, but there are easy ways to, well, relatively easier ways to make these anyway. What we have here is a set of or a collection of rows about customers who have come into a bike shop, and we have over here whether or not they purchased a bike. We have what their income level is, various demographics, marital status, gender, children, education. Some useful information if we're trying to predict whether or not someone purchased a bike. But for now, we need to explore and understand each of these variables, and we want to know if each of these variables are distributed normally. So here's what a normal distribution means. Let me move to an image for you. So here's a bell-shaped curve, and what this represents is kind of like a histogram of where data points fall along a set of values. So this is kind of our bell here. In the middle, or down here, we have our smallest or minimum value, our largest value, our median in the middle, and then 25% of or the first quartile showing up here, second quartile, third quartile, fourth quartile. So the box plot is a way to visualize all of those quartiles for multiple variables at once. So let's do this now. Let's say that we want to view a box plot for income. So how should we divide up income? Should we do it by gender, education? We can divide it up by a variety of variables. I think I'm going to select, let's do education here. I'm going to sort education A to Z. And this first shows me the income levels for all of those with bachelor's degrees. So I'm going to page down until I get through everyone with a bachelor's degree. There we go. Copy. And let's move the data over here. I'm going to put bachelor's first. Whoops, gotta try that one more time. Income. Copy. Paste. And actually, let's go through and do these in order. Not that it particularly matters having it in order, but I'm going to do partial high school. So these are the values that you find here in the education column that I want to divide up the data into. These people have a high school degree. Let's insert a row here because I know there's also going to be a partial college. Then there's bachelor's, and then there's also graduate. Okay, let's go copy the rest of the income levels. Let's skip down past bachelor's to whatever's next. Graduate degree, copy the incomes for all of these rows right here that are marked graduate degree. Copy. There's graduates. Let's go down to the next one. I can keep myself from scrolling too far. There we go. Like I say, Excel runs a little slow here when it's trying to do a screen record. Makes it a bit difficult to do this. Okay, copy. That was, let's see, that was high school. Okay, let's go, I'm going to skip down to the bottom here. Looks like these are our partial high school. Let's go up. Not many of those. Copy. Partial high school. And lastly, let's do partial college. Okay, here's our data, ready for box plots. I'm going to bold these so we can see them. Maximize the cells. Whoops, let's try that again. Not maximize, fit the width to the labels. So what we need to do next in order to do box plots is calculate the min, first quartile, median, third quartile, and max. So to give ourselves room to do that, I'm actually going to grab all this data and shift it down a ways just to make some space. So let's scroll back up, grab this, move it down. I'm just estimating here. And what I want to start calculating now is the min. Let's make these all right aligned just to make it a little bit easier for you guys to follow along. Right align min, quartile 1. Before I do that, let's give ourselves some space. Alright, quartile 1, clear that fill, there we go. Median, quartile 3, and max. Alright, these should be pretty simple calculations, hopefully you're already familiar with. Min, I'm going to grab these. I'm actually going to go ahead and move down because I want to be able to copy and paste those formulas over. I better make sure that this fits all the way to the bottom of the longest row. You'll see why in just a moment. Whoops. Okay, good. Finish that for me. The formula for quartile, if you're not familiar with it, just spell like it sounds. Quartile. Whoops. It'll show up down here. We're going to once again include that same array. Actually, I bet there's an easier way to do this. Let's delete all that. And instead, let's add some absolute references to this and then copy it down. And I'm going to add the absolute references. I hit F4 there when I select the reference. And I'm going to add it only to the rows because I want the references to change when I copy these columns across. You'll see why again in just a second. I'm going to copy these down, and what that's done is it's made it so each one of these are a min, and it's staying on the same set of rows, 20 to 329. But I'm going to change min to quartile, oops, if I can spell it right, quartile, which requires one more parameter, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, which says which quartile do you want. And I can use 0 to give me a min, which would do the same thing as the min I already have, or I can plug in a 1 to give me the first quartile. I'm going to change this min to median, or you probably noticed that you could use quartile again and use the parameter 2. That would accomplish the same thing. This one I'm going to use a quartile function again, and this time number 3 for the third quartile. Whoops, 3, there we go. And then lastly, I'll change this one to max. Alright, with those functions in, or those functions, let's copy these across. And because I put the dollar signs, or the absolute reference, just in front of the rows, it allowed the column to change as I copied that across. So these aren't actually the values we want. What we want is the difference between these values for our box plot to basically show how large each of the quartiles are. So here's what I want. I want the difference here between quartile 1 minus the min. Next, calculate the difference between median and quartile 1. Next, let's get the difference between quartile 3 and the median. Lastly, the difference between the max and quartile 3. Go ahead and plug these in for each of these cells. So, equals, and here's a quick way to do it. Quartile 1 minus min, and then let's leave those references as relative references and simply copy down, copy across. And now we have all of our differences. In fact, I think I'm going to move all this down to give me a bit of space, and you'll see why in just a second. So these are the values we're going to use for our box plot. Next thing to do is to select those values, insert. What we want is a stacked column chart, and you could do it either vertical or horizontal. Either way, I'm going to use this one. Make this chart a little bit bigger. And notice it labels my data series as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because it doesn't know that it's referring to these labels right here. So I can put those labels in my chart in one of two ways. Either A, I can click on Select Data here, and then I want to edit the horizontal axis labels. Edit, and the range I want is this range right here. As soon as I release it, notice it plugs those values in. I can just hit OK, OK, and now I've got the labels. Or you could also just delete that, copy these labels, or select them, hold down Control, select these as well, and now insert the stacked column chart, and it figures it out just fine. Okay, let's expand this again. Let's give it a chart title. This is our box and whisker. Come on, if I can spell. Alright, box and whisker chart. So we have a bunch of values. The blues represent the difference here between quartile 1 and the min. Now in this case, for partial high school, the values for min and quartile 1 are both 1,000, therefore it's a 0. No problem. We actually don't want to show this area anyway. So I want you to right click, go to Format Data Series, which pulls up these options, click on Fill, and we're going to ask for No Fill. Okay, next I want you to click on the reds, and we're going to also do No Fill, but this time we're going to add a chart element called Error Bars and select More Error Bar options, and it's going to plug in these guys right here. These error bars will mark the quartile below, but in order to do that, we need to format the error bars. So with those selected, I'm going to click over here on this chart, and we want to show just the bottom half of the error bars, which is, in other words, the minus portion. And that eliminated this top half. And then also, we don't want to fix the error bars to show a certain amount. We want it to show a percentage of that quartile, and in particular, we want it to show 100%. Change that to 100, and now we have the lower quartile for each of these. Up here on the purple, similar, we're not going to, instead of hiding the purple, we're simply going to go click on Add Chart Element, because in this case, this is the max minus the quartile 3. We don't need to hide it. So click on More Error Bars. It'll add that in. In this case, we don't want to hide the top, the positive. We want to hide the minus portion. So we want to show the plus. And then once again, instead of a fixed value of 2,000, we want to set it to a percentage of the quartile, which is, whoops, not 200, 100. There we go. Click off of there. Here's our box and whisker plots. So just taking a look at this data, let's interpret it so we understand what these mean. What I see here is large areas of purple, which is actually quartile 3. So the error bar here shows quartile 1, green is quartile 2, purple quartile 3, and quartile 4. Long quartile 3 and 4s mean that it's skewed. And in particular, it's what we call skewed right. Let me show you a picture of a histogram of what this looks like. So right here we have, it's a skewed right distribution, meaning that the long tail goes to the right. So skewed right or skewed left, the right-left always refers to the long tail. So in other words, most of people's income levels were towards the low end. However, there were some higher end ones, but it got fewer and fewer and fewer. So this is a histogram, or not a perfect bell curve version of what these box plots are showing right here. In the new version of Excel 2016, there's going to simply be a button you can push that will do all of this work for you that we just did in the click of a button. You'll see that in another video below.